Are you looking for an awesome 2-light flush mount wood brushed finish light? Well, hopefully this review is going to help you out. Stick with us and we're going to show you how to install it and the good and the bad. Here's the bottom up view. You can see the two Phillips head, the heads of those screws there. Here is the lights on. So we have the lights in and on. Kind of bright in the camera, so you can't really see how cool the filaments look.
DIY with Chris, giving you the tools to do it yourself. Today on DIY with Chris.
All right, so we're going to start off today with the DIY with Chris product review template that you'll see coming across the screen during portions of this before we start into the installation. If you want to go to the installation, skip forward here. This item is the Boswell quarter 12.5-inch 2-light brushed nickel flush mount with painted weathered gray wood accents. That's a very long title for a seemingly beautiful piece here. The price for this is $89.97 at Home Depot where we purchased it. I cannot find this item anywhere on Amazon, so this might be an exclusive thing for Home Depot, maybe some other retailers, but usually the only two I reference is Home Depot and Amazon here. The description for this is pasted straight from the Home Depot website and talks about how awesome it looks and the detail that they've put into that, so I'm not going to read that whole piece there. You can see that. The main things that they want to bring out here is the brushed nickel finish, painted weathered gray wood accents. No shade, open cage design, so less shadows being casted, 12.5-inch diameter and 5 7/8 inch height. So it is fairly low profile. It uses two 60-watt medium base bulbs, which are not included in this kit. Dry location is listed, so not good for exterior use. Includes all mounting hardware for quick and easy installation. And this has coordinating other accessories that it works with for this particular collection, such as chandeliers, pendants, and vanities. You have the overall dimensions there again, and the color is the weathered gray wood look. Ratings from Amazon, again, they do not exist. I cannot find this product on there. The Home Depot shows a 4.3 star rating, average from 613 reviews. All of the 1 and 3 star reviews talk about how extremely difficult it is to install this particular light. Many of the people's reviews that I read was them returning this light because they could not get it installed and choosing another one. All of the reviews that I saw very highly rated it on its look and quality. So looks pretty good, has good quality, but very hard to install. I'm not sure about that yet. I haven't seen any videos on it or anything, so we'll get to installation here very soon on this. The contents on this is the light fixture, mounting brackets, installation instructions, and does not include the lights. So we did have to purchase those separately. It can use dimmable lights. So we purchased two 60-watt dimmable LEDs to go with this, and those LEDs have the cool filament fixture look, which we're excited to see in our living room, which is where we are going to be installing this. So we'll go ahead and open up this kit here. We have the instructions, which you might actually have to look at this time. I've installed a fair amount of light fixtures before, but with how difficult they are saying this is supposed to be, you might have to look at those. I'm seeing the standard base fixture here. It does have some electrical caps and it has some screws. Some of the reviews that I read said that the screws were much too long and they had to cut them down. And other reviews that I read said that the screws were not long enough. So I think there is a bit of inconsistency with the actual hardware, and that seems to be one of the biggest problems, is just the hardware that's included causing problems with the installation. All right. This is the actual fixture itself, it is packaged pretty well. Overall, one of the low reviews, it was a person who said that they have installed hundreds of light fixtures and they actually returned it. They didn't finish installing it. His complaint on this was that it has no room for adjustment to make sure that it is level with the room. So possibly they had a canted ceiling, and this definitely would not allow for you to, change the angle to make sure that it's level with the room. This is very flat. Fortunately, our living room has just a flat ceiling there, so I'm not going to have that same problem as far as needing to adjust it. But I could see how this probably will be more difficult to affix to the hardware up inside the socket, but we will get going on. You can see the bottom here, it does have a nice brushed look. If you got too close like I am now, it doesn't look terribly great, but if it's up on your ceiling, as we were standing in the store, I thought it looked pretty good hanging kind of up on the wall there. And we did like the look of this kind of brushed nickel on the inside, the hardware that the lights are going to plug into. As far as the base, pretty good styrofoam fitting, so it is packaged very well from damage. I did not see a warranty option available on this, or the extended warranty option from even Home Depot themselves as an option for this, so that is something to keep in mind, though I don't remember seeing much of a warranty on many of the light fixtures that I have done or placed. So we'll go ahead and move inside and start the installation process for this. Moving on to installation here, step one is make sure that your power is turned off. So we usually leave the light on and then start flipping the breakers, especially if they're not labeled appropriately like our house is. So start flipping the breakers until it turns off. That'll let you know that our power is off. And another thing that you can do if you're going to do a lot of these projects is get a voltmeter and actually test it to the connections to see if there's any power still flowing. So we're going to go ahead and start taking down this other one. Ours has a couple screws that keep it into place, and it looks like it has been painted since installation, so it's stuck to our ceiling. Okay, so that comes out fairly easy. All right, so we have our ground, the black and the white, which is our live wires. And so the first thing we need to do to get this down is just start undoing these. So you can take off these electrical caps and take off all of these caps here. Make sure that these wires don't touch, even with the power being off, just not a safe thing. So you're going to see multiple lights here, 2 white ones and 2 black ones, because we have 2 different light bulbs as part of this fixture. So our new one is probably wired the same. We just take off that just by removing that electrical cap, it undid both of the black wires. And now camera person is helpers are helping hold up the light while I untwist this neutral, or the ground. And here is the old fixture. You can see all the wiring there. Most of these lights are fairly easy to replace like this, because you just stick with the same color on both of those and then tie them up so just match the colors, and it's pretty easy. Sometimes you'll get some houses that they use different color wiring and whatnot. In a lot of those cases, it's probably best to talk with an electrician and see if you might need your wiring upgraded throughout your entire house. All right, so what we're working on right now is, this is the bracket that comes with it. So we're gonna feed all of our wiring through there. And then we're gonna move up to here. Now it does have some of these pre-drilled holes, or it has the slider, and that's for adjustment. The other light did not have the bracket on there, which is odd. That comes with most lights. I think I'm gonna try and do this one. and we can start threading it into there. And then into the electrical box that is there. Looks like that spacing is appropriate. These screws, as they come, they have a little nut here, and then they have the decorative nut cap that is going to sit on the inside of the fixture for you to see. Right now, I'm just testing to see if these particular holes that I'm threading are lined up with the box ones, the electrical box, to know if that will work. So it does look like the spacing is appropriate. So I'm gonna use those, but the next thing that we're gonna do is affix these into there. I'm going to bend these out of the way for now. I'm going to take my ground wire and wrap it around this green screw that's right here. The green screw is for your ground. I'm going to wrap it around the green screw and then tighten it down. And then I'm going to take the white wires from the light fixture and attach them to the white one here, and the black ones to this one. And after all of those after all the wiring is attached, then we can take the base and feed it up over these screws. So this mounting piece is the reason why I believe most people weren't able to mount this fixture, or why so many people had problems with the installation. The instructions say to take the 2 screws that are provided and thread them from the top down, and that is why we have our decorative caps. So it's showing that there is a piece here that you can thread from the top down. After you feed it through that piece, you put on this little silver nut, and then it'll be locked in place, and then you just feed your fixture over top of that and put on your decorative nut, and that's what's gonna lock it in. This fixture, nor any of the other lights that we have recently installed, has that as an option for you to feed from the top down. So what we are going to have to do, we're still going to install this light, but what we are going to do is go from the top, or from the bottom up. That's going to make it much more difficult to do, but it is still possible. We're not going to be able to use the decorative nuts anymore, so you are going to see the top of your Phillip head screw from the actual fixture itself, but with the lights on and working, and it being, the color is actually pretty close to the brushed nickel finish that is the top of it anyway, so it should blend fairly well, and we will show you what that looks like afterwards. So what I'm going to do right now is I did put my bracket there. First thing we need to do is hook up all the wiring. After we hook up the wiring, then we're going to have to hold the fixture up. Well, it'll be connected already, but have the fixture up, and then we're going to have to feed these through the fixture holes into the 2 holes on the bracket, and then from those 2 holes in the bracket, screw them all the way in, because these are threaded. Screw them all the way in, and then into the holes up here in the actual electrical box, and that is what's going to allow us to put it in. So pretty difficult overall, and I can see why people have rated this fairly low for the installation piece. So the first thing I'm going to do right now is go ahead and tighten this screw around our ground wire, and then we'll start hooking up the other electrical components. Okay, so we have the ground wire that is attached through that bracket there, and I have it tightened down as much as I can with this particular screwdriver. We want to use just handheld tools for this. You could use the electrical, not recommended, because we don't want to over tighten and strip any of our components. So fortunately, our ground wire is pretty rigid and is allowing this to stay in place really well. So that's holding our bracket in real nice now. We'll go ahead and grab our actual light fixture. I'm gonna have my wife and good assistant here hold it up while I start attaching the electrical wires. So you can see we have a very thin ground cable here, which I'm again going to fold up here and around this. And if you can twist it, so I'm going to feed it through the hole there, follow it, and then just twist it around that other rigid ground cable that is coming from the house. And that should be good there. Okay, this one's going to stay open and exposed. Now we have to take the electrical cables here and untangle them. We just have one white and one black. So this is likely a newer model here. Take the provided electrical cap that comes with the kit, and we are going to, if you can see, take the white cable and the white cable here, and both of them have open exposed ends. If you don't have much of an exposed end, then you can get some electrical pliers, some wire cutters, and then strip the cable off the end, but both of these are exposed nicely. Feed them both into the electrical cap together, and then start twisting that electrical cap in the clockwise direction until it is nice and tight, which is going to ensure that those frayed ends of the wiring from the light fixture are wrapped tightly around the solid, rigid white cable that is coming from the house. And then we just have to do the same thing for the black wires. So these ones were all crazy and flayed out. You can go ahead and pinch those together. You can run a couple twists in it to make sure that they stay together, and that's going to also help it feed into the electrical cap better. Take the other electrical cap, and again, so I like to feed this flayed one in first because it's generally a little bit harder to get into the end of the electrical cap, and then the rigid one, and do the same thing again. Rotate clockwise, and then to get off would be anti-clockwise or counterclockwise. And so there we have the electrical wiring hooked up and is ready to go. Next thing we have is to feed our screws from the bottom up. I'm gonna have to do one at a time here into this. This part is much more difficult here. Doing it from this orientation. This is quite the arm workout for anybody holding the light fixture. It is a few pounds, which is a lot after a duration. You come from the other side and do the same thing. Once you have it threaded pretty well, hold on, you can see that, hopefully you can see that the screws are pretty well into the bracket here, assuming I've fed them through the right holes, which when we tested it, they should be. Now that we have enough going through, we are going to tuck our electrical cables back up into the electrical box so that they're up out of the way and aren't going to interfere with our mounting bracket. And then we're going to feed our bracket up and align our mounting screws. I pushed all that wiring up to the box. I fed the screws through the bracket as much as possible, so there's as much screw as possible hanging outside of the bracket to give me as much room to see above the fixture and along the roof to see that electrical box opening, and that allowed me to line up my screws to those holes. And so I already started feeding them in there. I just barely got them into place, and then we started recording again. That only took maybe a minute or so to do. It wasn't terribly difficult, but again, I can definitely see why people have issues with that. Another problem that I believe that they were talking about as far as the flush mount in the room or whatnot is doing it this way. I can't rotate the fixture, so if my holes for the screws don't line up appropriately, then it could be really canted. The fixture could be really canted compared to the room and kind of look off-putting that way. So it really depends on if you're okay with that or where your mounting holes are located in your electrical box and if you want to rotate that and whatnot. So this is how it looks, just like this. We'll see about getting the bulbs in there, and I do want to squish it up a little bit more towards the ceiling. But here's the bottom up view. You can see the two Phillips head, the heads of those screws there, and they kind of blend in overall with the rest of it, I think. So I'm not too worried about the decorative caps being there. And we're gonna go ahead and feed in the bulbs that we have and see how that looks. The ones that we got do have, they're LED, but they're kind of the decorative look to make them look like they are filaments. They're Edison style LED bulbs, so that should be pretty cool. Here is the lights on. So we have the lights in and on. Kind of bright in the camera, so you can't really see how cool the filaments look. You can't really see the Edison style there, but that is the daylight bulbs. So you can see here the shadow cast from the corner posts. So that kind of gives you, again, if that bothers you, maybe not a reason to do that. But overall, I think it is definitely worth looking at your electrical box first and determining whether you can feed your screws from the top down. If you can't, this is going to be a very difficult project to do, and you might want to choose a different light. That concludes the installation of this light. Overall, wasn't too bad for us, only took a few minutes. Pros on this, I do like the look of it. I like the brushed nickel up here. I do like the kind of woody grain type look here, or the weathered gray that they talk about. So I do like that look if I'm not up close, and even kind of as it's a little bit darker here as I'm looking at it, it's harder to notice the, you know, painted on look that is there. So especially if I'm sitting down on my couch, I don't notice that look at all. So that is pretty easy to hide. I do really like the way that our Edison bulbs look and the LED filaments. We did the daylight bulbs in here. Big reason is because we're getting ready to list our home, and so we need it to be nice and bright as we're showing it. But they did have some amber bulbs. So it had the regular filaments in there, but it had an amber glass that was there, and I think that that would look much better in this style of light. There's a lot of stuff that was at Home Depot, a lot of bulbs that had many different versions of the filaments. So they're all still LED, but filament designs. And I think that would be super fun to play with. And they also have that amber glass that would cast just a completely different light as well. So lots of different lights that come in styles like this, but hopefully you enjoyed that, and hopefully this was very helpful to you. So definitely pros on that is the way this looks, the lights that you can put in there, and kind of the style. And giant negative that I would say completely stay away from this light is if you do not have an electrical box where you can come top down with your screws, then avoid this light unless you're willing to do some extra magic to make it actually mount. But other than that, I hope this answered all of the questions that you have and gives you a good idea as to whether you want to use this light or not and install it in your home. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'll do my best to answer them as soon as I can. Subscribe to my channel. It really helps us out. And all of the links that are in our description are affiliate links. So click those if you can. That'll help us out and let us continue to make videos like this. If anybody else has used this light fixture and has had to work around the installation piece, then and you can leave comments on that, please do so. The whole purpose of these videos is to help out the entire DIY community to make these projects easier, save people money, and keep them from doing things that would be difficult or outside of their range, or things that would be reasons to avoid different products and whatnot. So please help out in that aspect if you have the experience. Other than that, have a great DIY day, team.
DIY with Chris, giving you the tools to do it yourself. Today on DIY with Chris.